This is what no one tells you about holding space. It's hard. There's no simple way to put it. There's a lot of different definitions out there about holding space and what it means to different people. In this video, I'm going to talk about what works for me, and you're going to learn about how to hold space for others, how to ask others to hold space for you, and how to hold space for yourself. So let's go! But first, my name is Beth. If this is your first time here, hi, hello. I see auras, I talk to spirit, and we talk about all things woo-woo here. So what is holding space? Mind Body Green defines it as donate your ears and heart without wanting anything in return. And yes, I'm reading off of a script here. Psychology Today defines it as be with someone without judgment. Basically, holding space means managing your own experience so that others can have their own experience. Now, I know this all sounds really easy and on paper, and Google searches will tell you all those different things, but guess what? When you're actually in the space with someone who's having this big emotion or is having whatever is coming up for them, it can be really difficult. Co-creating a safe space with somebody is the key. Sitting with someone instead of taking action is really often difficult. What I've realized and what I've learned is that when we're holding space for others, or when we're experiencing someone going through some big emotions, we want to take action. We want to give advice. We want to, do all the things to make this person feel better. But what really needs to happen in those moments is just allow the person to have their experience. And sometimes when someone's sharing something, there is no answer. It's just simply to listen and be there to experience that with them. Here's how you can hold space for someone else. The most important thing is to sit there and be present. Active listening is the most important part of holding space for others. You want to be attentive. Now, that doesn't mean nodding your head and Sometimes it's just simply witnessing what this person is going through. Oftentimes there'll be a feeling of wanting to respond. Now just take notice about what's behind the response. If it's something because you want to feel better or you want to show this person that you're listening, it's probably not something that really needs to be said. And this goes into the next point. Don't interrupt their process. So holding space is really just allowing for their experience and their process to go. So a really good example of this is, say you're meeting a friend for coffee and everything's going well, you're talking, you're catching up. Then you ask, so how are you really? And they start telling you about their troubles, something really big, and they start crying. What is the first response that we usually have? They're there, don't cry, everything's gonna be okay. Maybe we'll reach in and grab a tissue and hand it to them. Maybe we'll want to hug them. But in that moment, when they start sharing their tears, the most important thing to do is just witness them. Now, some people are not comfortable with this and they're like, really, like, what are you doing? Why aren't you comforting me? Some people have even said, I've never experienced this before. But the key part is allow that person to have their experience. It is so uncomfortable. That is the hard part, that no one tells you about holding space for someone. So my mentor said that these emotions that are coming up in me that want me to comfort, to console, or to try to make it better, all comes from a place of wanting me to feel better. But to allow someone to have their process allows them to experience what they need to experience. And also, what I've noticed too is when I'm offering comfort to someone who is crying, they end up comforting me. Oh no, it's okay. Oh no. And then they shift. And the thing is, when we want to create these connective bonds with other people, it's really important to allow for that space, that safe container, that co-created safe space to bloom. And so you might be wondering, is there a time that I can respond? Well, absolutely. Now, when someone's having some big emotions, allow them to talk and allow them to experience what they're experiencing. We're not therapists. We're not anyone else but concerned friends, family, loved ones, or even strangers. So when there's a pause or they're looking at you like, well, I've never had this happen before. This is really uncomfortable for me, that I'm just crying and you're just sitting there, because some people have never experienced this before, or they're not experiencing it on a regular basis. You can say things like, tell me more. I can imagine that might feel, and then insert whatever. Messy, hard, difficult. Or you can always say something like, how can I comfort you? Is there anything that I can say that would bring you comfort right now? Or do you just want me to listen? So I hope that helps. ourselves with holding space for other people. So if the roles are reversed and you're sitting in the chair with big emotions and you just want someone to hold space for you, it's important to advocate for yourself. So the number one thing is to ask for it. Most people will want to jump in and take action and to help. It's our human nature. And they're doing it from a kind, compassionate place. So just know, by you advocating for yourself, it's really an act of kindness. So how does that look and what does that sound like? It sounds as simple as, please, I just need to share this. Can you just hold the space for me? It can sound like, please don't give me advice. I just want you to hear me right now. And that takes practice. It is not easy to say it first, and it might feel really uncomfortable, and that person might be uncomfortable receiving it too. The important part is that in order to create that space that feels safe to share, to be transparent, to allow for the process to unfold in the way that is going to be healing for all parties, it's important to advocate and name it. Lastly, how can you hold space for yourself? Well, it's all about mindful practice. Taking the time to discover what's alive for you, letting go of any judgment calls, and really getting to know yourself is really key in holding space for yourself. Like, for example, not too long ago, I was having some big emotions surrounding financial instability. At the same time, my son was moving out, my daughter had chose to live with her father. I was suddenly met with being an empty nester on top of being in this financial situation. So it was a lot. I could either put my head to the grindstone and just do the work. I could ignore all my needs and just continue forward. Or I took some time and I sat on my mat and cried and felt all the emotions and allowed myself the opportunity to be heard and seen and felt by me. And isn't that what we all want? Is to be held and seen and known. So when it comes to holding space for yourself, be gentle with yourself. Practice non-judgment, practice mindfulness. It is going to be really uncomfortable, but the important part and the important takeaway of this is that you will start to trust yourself. You will start to notice a difference in how you hold space for others because you're able to hold space for yourself. And it's a beautiful thing. And if you notice that others aren't able to hold space for you, it doesn't knock you off your rocker because you can hold space for yourself, and that is what's most important. So that's it. It's the video. I want to thank you again for subscribing to my channel. Your support really means the world to me. I'm working on some other big things, so stay tuned for that. But until next time, be good to yourself, and I'm sending you love. Mwah.